as long as you, as the leader of the organization, are involved in service delivery, then you're not really taking on the mantle of the leader. You're still an individual contributor. And in my experience, until the leader gives that up, it really inhibits the overall growth of the business.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Now in today's episode, Brad Farris, who is a business coach to $1 million businesses, is going to share with us the principles of what it takes to be a great leader. Now, if you want to scale your business, here are some of the tips from Brad on how you can scale your business from $1 million to $5 million. You work with $1 million businesses and you help them grow. Is that you still specifically work with just agencies, or is it a variety of $1 million businesses?
The primary group of companies that I work with are creative professionals. So marketing, advertising, PR, web design, those types of agencies. And when those businesses get to be about $1 million, so 5 to 8 employees, they're probably 5 or so years in business, the role of the CEO changes pretty significantly. You know, that it can't be just what I call the chief and her Indians, where the boss is in charge of everything and they're just kind of doling out work to people. Now we start having to delegate authority and start to create some groups and people that have different areas of responsibility. And instead of all of us kind of working on everything, you're going to have some accountability and performance management and some of those kind of things. And that's a big hurdle for the leader of the agency to get over. And so I help them to move from that kind of hub and spoke to more of a professional command and control type of infrastructure, which is probably going to take them into the $2.5–3 million range as we're making that transition.
Gotcha. So prior to that, the work is a bit different, where sometimes the business owner is actually doing some of the work that's directly involving deliverable of the service. Whereas now it's really about how do you almost, you're not control, but like work with your team and your manager. So I wanted to touch on the point of one of your article about the 12 qualities that these leaders need, which I highly recommend check out your article on anchoradvisors.com. Yeah, one of the tips is around developing a great management team. So yeah, share with us a little bit about how do we go about in finding the best management team?
The first point you made is really critical, that as long as you, as the leader of the organization, are involved in service delivery, then you're not really taking on the mantle of the leader. You're still an individual contributor. And in my experience, until the leader gives that up, it really inhibits the overall growth of the business. And part of that is an identity thing, that the business owner, as long as they're working in design or coding the website, they're still holding on to that identity as a web designer or a graphic designer or whatever it is that you're selling. And giving that up actually helps them to change who they see themselves as. And so then they act in a different way, right? And so once they've given that up and they realize that this is not their job anymore, something changes where they go from looking for young, flexible, inexpensive people to looking for more experienced, more skilled, more expensive people. And hiring people that have a track record of success that can come in and they might even be better than you.
Yes.
Right?
That is so true, because prior to hiring my ops manager, I kind of had the opportunity. I didn't even plan to hire. That's the thing. You get so caught up in the business that you always think that, I don't know, you just don't even think about hiring someone else because they're expensive. But the opportunity came up because this Richard, who happened to come back from Singapore to Sydney, he's like, hey, I'm looking for a job and I have experience in outsourcing and building remote teams and consulting. And you're like, oh my God, it just sounds exactly like what you need. And I took the leap and I hired him. And I was blown away of the knowledge he had about, because I thought I was into working remotely. I knew how to have Skype, or I know how to have Google Drive. And then he came in and he's like, you need Slack. You need to stop being in the bit. It was just amazing at knowing, like, you just don't know how good someone is until you kind of give it a go. Is that some of the experience you've had from?
Definitely. The feeling when that person started doing things at a higher level, like at first it's a little scary, right? But then pretty quickly you realize, oh my God, this is awesome. Like, they're making me money and I'm not doing anything. Like, that is fantastic.
It's just amazing. But the thing that I've learned, which you can confirm here, is that I have to also learn to let them tell me what to do and not be dictating anything, or sometimes step back and go, yeah, I'm wrong and they're right.
Yeah. And that's really hard at the beginning. But it is part of that evolution, that growth into a leader, that as we get out of the weeds and start to look further out, our horizon shifts from what needs to get done this week to what needs to get done like this quarter or this year. And that makes room for our team to have an area that they're responsible for, right? If it needs to get done this week or this month, that's their job, right? Things that are happening next quarter, that's my job. And so having that separation is really helpful in letting the team that you hire, the team of experts, to really grow and thrive.
Yeah. And so now that we've freed up ourselves and we've got staff working, what should we really be spending our time doing? Because I think that could also be a problem where you just have more free time and you start to procrastinate or, spend time on social media or something. So what, I guess, tips would you say would make our time more productive and effective now that we've got more free time?
So the first thing that happens there is when we hire those more expensive, experienced people, we're not making any money, right? Because we took all the profits and we gave them away as salary.
You are bringing memory back for me right here. Yeah.
Right. That sucks. That's the hard. And a lot of people will turn back at that point. Like, no. But the way forward from there is to raise your prices. Because when you raise, you're now offering a different service than you were offering before, right? You have more skilled people, you're more stable, you're more effective at what you do. And so you can charge a higher price. Now, naturally, when you start charging a higher price, you're going to need to attract a different group of customers, because there may be people who are buying from you because you were cheap, right? And now you want people who are buying from you because you're good. And so that requires a whole different level of marketing and sales expertise to really identify who are the people who are willing to pay that higher price, who are the people that you can make the biggest difference for, because those are the people that are going to be much more fun to work with. Your team's going to get more out of it and you're going to make more money. So first off, raising prices then creates this need for a higher level of marketing and sales. And that is a really valuable thing for that newly ascending CEO to take on.
Yeah, that is so accurate, because what happened is when I was on my own, if someone says raise your price, I'm kind of like, it's almost like I feel like I'm not adding much more value, but just raising prices. But the moment I had more really great staff, managers that are very like a brain behind it, I was very confident. I was like, of course I need to raise my price.
Exactly.
They're so good. And I know that I can transform people's lives because of this new service. So it's not just about raising a price to cover your overheads, but it's actually that you've got the value and confidence to be able to. And so this reminds me of one of your points about around resilience. So it's like there's this transition period where I remember now going, oh my God, the profit's all gone. Like I don't know where to make the money. And no matter if you are going to increase it or not, there's going to be that time where it feels like your money is dropping. How do you stay resilient, and why should you stay resilient?
So resilience is the only way through that. Well, first of all, every business has ups and downs. If you talk to Elon Musk about, hey, your business was always up and to the right, he's going to tell you about all the times that it went down. It doesn't matter who you are in business. There are times when it's not going right. And in that time, your team is going to look at you to figure out how they're supposed to feel about this situation. And if you're all up in your feels every time that there's a bump in the road, then your team starts to flap all over the place and they're focused on that and not on getting things done. And so your resilience, your ability to kind of look at what's happening and say, okay, based on this, what do we want to do next? That is a really essential tool for you to keep your whole team on track, because they need that from you. Like you said, your team is going to tell you, hey, stay out of my knickers, I got this. But on the flip side, what they need from you is that kind of, okay, the boat's rocking, but where do we go next?
Yeah, this is so great. Such a great point, because I remember so many times that I was kind of tested. I kind of didn't think twice about it, because unfortunately we have a lot of clients that whenever there is business challenges, it's like the first thing they do is they cut their staff. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I really like your service, but I have to get rid of my staff because I can't afford. But it's like they're going back to square one. And I'm like, no, this is where you need to stay resilient, because you will need the people that you just trained to be amazing.
That's right. That's
be
right.
with you. And now you're back to square one. So what would you like to say about people, going through that period in their life? The first thing they think, or they feel like there's no other choice but just to cut their staff out.
When you have a pullback in your business, I'm not someone who says, hey, tough it out. Things are going to get better. You can go into debt. Like, no, debt is no good. It's hard to earn money. You don't want to give it back. So we do have to find a way, if our sales come down, for us to cut our costs so that we can maintain at least some level of profit. Thinking about how to do that or where to do that is the tricky part. The number of people that you have to cut off the bottom of the organization in order to make any kind of meaningful difference in your expenses is often really, really painful. It's typically easier to make cuts in the top of the organization because people have higher salaries. The other thing is, you can be really effective to pull your senior leadership team together and kind of say, look, this is the situation. I would prefer we not let anybody go because we've been working together, we've trained each other, we've built trust. This is what I would need from you in order to make this work. That's often a better way through. Now, thinking about how to recover from that when things get better, like there's complications in that whole thing, but that's often a better way to kind of navigate through a short-term downturn.
Yeah, you're right, because that's exactly what we did during the pandemic. I mean, looking back, we panicked more than we should, but it was only like, a month or two that was tough. Overall, we just try to think of everything else other than sacking people. So it's any tools and costs that we need to cut out. How can we make more money? So we started calling up people and going like, we do ad hoc hours now, not just full-time VAs anymore. So it's just extra sales. But then there's still that period that we need to go, okay, what's the next action? And so we told our team, what do you think we should do? And they together came up with an idea to salary sacrifice their own salary and came up with their own number. And it was so sweet to hear when they start to even negotiate with one another, going more like, I'll take more cut than you because you deserve to stay, to have more. And it was just so beautiful to see. And it made me as a CEO more like, what, I can't wait to get through this period and just reward these people forever because they are just so kind. Yeah.
Well, and this is one of the reasons why it's important to have a healthy margin at all times in your business. Watching your expenses, cutting some of those tools and subscriptions, making sure, I have one client right now, he's making like 35% profit. And he's like, Brad, that's too much. I said, no, it's not too much because there's going to be a time later when that's going to come down, and having that cushion is going to allow you to keep your team and move forward without going negative. And so it's okay to have a really healthy margin. That's one of the reasons we want to raise our prices so that when things go bad, we have some cushion there to be able to absorb it.
Yeah. I totally get it. And I think that after all that period happened, now it's almost a habitual thing where we always audit and see what tools we're using and how do we cut costs, or how do we even purchase things on annual if we know we're going to need it, and 20% or whatever. And it's thanks to challenges in business. That's right. That's the thing. You have to learn from the challenges, right?
For sure.
One of the main points that you also raise in this article is about creating a predictable process for building client service capabilities. Do you want to share a little bit about what that means?
So if we've taken the business owner out of the service delivery operation, then we want to build a predictable process in service delivery. If you're growing, you're going to be wanting to add more people into that service delivery process, so that more sales means more people to service those sales. And so we want to build a process that is repeatable and predictable, and that way we can start to scale it just by adding more people. And so one of the critical things there is to think about the fact that when you pull yourself out, your people are actually the ones that are making happy customers, right? You're not in the happy customer business anymore. Your team is in the happy customer business. And so your job is to make your team happy so that they can make the customers happy. And so whatever that predictable process is that you're creating, you have to create it with the idea that we're providing opportunity, we're providing learning for the people on the team, we're providing growth so that people can make more money, ascend in their careers. That all has to be built into the process that you're creating that creates the service for the clients.
Yeah. I went through this where obviously I removed myself from the business and it's all process driven and the staff are handling the clients now. It was really funny because there was this final stage where I felt that I needed to send a welcome email to every new client and to say, hey, I'm here just so you know if you want to call me. And after doing that, I kind of felt like some of the clients liked us, some didn't really care, whatever. And we just audit together and my team is like, because Lim, you don't need to do that anymore. It's like, we represent your company now.
That's right. That's it.
I know you're the founder, but you don't have to be part in any way. I'm like, I feel really bad because all these years there is some sort of connection. So can you relate to that or any?
I mean, not to put you on the spot too much, Lynn, but that email was really about you. It was making you feel good, right? It was making you feel like you have that connection. It wasn't about the client. The client didn't care whether you sent that email or not, right? And that's a perfect example. There's a lot of places where we have to give up what we enjoy or things that we feel like are important because the business needs us to do something else. And truthfully, when we give it up, most of the times we're like, yeah, I don't know why I was doing that. Better things to do than that.
Yeah. It's just always good to sometimes stop and analyze and go, why am I doing this?
Exactly.
Serve, and is it even necessary? And it's so good to be able to cut out something and you like save all that time. It's all in our head. So just to wrap things up, Brad, like what's any takeaway that you want people to know in terms of like what it really takes to grow a business and maybe through these years of recent pandemics and stuff that's been happening, if there's any thing that you've learned that you want to share with us?
Well, I don't know how unique this is because I think the pandemic taught us this a lot, but if you can't go, your business can't grow, right? Like if you're sick, if you're tired, if you're depressed, if you're stressed, if you're overworked, if you're overwhelmed, you're not going to have that resiliency or that creativity that you need in order to lead your team. And so it feels counterintuitive, but especially as you start to pull yourself out of the business, you need to take some of that time and invest it in sleep, healthy eating, exercise, hobbies, friends, things outside the business. They're going to keep you in a creative, energetic state. What the business needs from you now is that resiliency, like we talked about. The things that tend to bubble up to the leader, no one calls me to say, hey, Brad, we won that great new contract. No, they call and say, remember that new contract we won? Yeah, well, they're suing us now. Those are the kind of things that come up to the CEO. And so we need to be able to have ourselves in a place where those things can happen and it doesn't knock us off our horse. We're not going to react. We're going to respond in those situations.
Oh,
and so
taking
good. Care of yourself, it gets more and more important as you grow at your business.
Oh, that is so good because, we need to invest in ourselves, be able to handle all that. And it's not just, I think we know enough strategies and tactics. It's just that we can't even get ourselves to focus because we're so distracted with so many things. So such a great tip to take home. So thank you so much, Brad, for spending time with me today.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're wondering where you are in the process of growing your business, if you go to anchoradvisors.com/growth-phase, there's a little 8-question assessment there. And at the end of it, we really tell you what is the next most important thing that you need to focus on to grow your business. And people find that really helpful just to be able to focus on one thing to get to that next stage. So anchoradvisors.com/growth-phase.
Yeah, love it. I think I've tried the quiz before and it's really amazing. So thank you so much, Brad.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. Love to hear from you. If you have any questions for myself or Brad, or if you like more videos like this, check them out here.